Let's go back in time to the 90s, when the yet unseen vistas of 3D graphics made their way to home consoles, the time of the first PlayStation. Back in the day, when characters started to be similar to their real-life counterparts, there was one series, one character that stirred quite a commotion in the video game world. And that was the protagonist of Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. All it took was one rumor, and fans were obsessed. Lara Croft became one of the first virtual crushes of the adolescent gamer. Basically, Lady Croft was a female version of Indiana Jones, venturing to various locations around the world and exposing history's biggest secrets. The character was so popular that she appeared in 5 games on the first PlayStation alone. Soon after her debut, school hallways were filled with whispers. According to a rumor, you could get Lara naked, but with a cheat. Similarly, when a console version of Mortal Kombat was released, there was a rumor that one could bypass censorship thanks to a cheat on the Sega version, and it turned out to be true. Soon, the Genesis version outsold the SNES version, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of the market back then belonged to Nintendo. In the 90s, information was delayed, and was much harder to get rid of trolls and what we nowadays call fakes. Most of what we knew about games came from magazines, and those weren't being released daily, mind you. Even though the naked Lara cheat was disclaimed on many occasions, many still believed that if you tried hard enough, you could see a pixelated nipple or two on your TV screen. Nowadays, no one would think twice to obsess about Lara the same way we did back in the day. In the 21st century, we're just a few clicks away from seeing whatever character we like naked. And nudity mods and others similar are constantly being updated and created for various games. What does that fact say about us gamers in general? Let's go back in the past for just one more minute. In the era of the popularity of video game magazines, cheats and tricks were gamers' bread and butter. The game-related press was full of hints or easy-to-apply methods to unlock bonuses, tweak the mechanic a bit, or even alter what the game looked like altogether, in form of, for example, big heads on character models. Lara's cheat may have turned out to be fake, but other nude cheats were real, like the one in Naughty Dog's Rings of Power. Thanks to a cheat, we could see the lady in the intro topless. That, however, was not the first case of nudity in video games. Looking back at the era of Atari, we had such infamous titles as Custer's Revenge or Beat 'em and Eat 'em. In the late 80s and 90s, as video games were a medium with the target audience being children, nudity was avoided at all costs. It was thanks to alternate costumes that female characters started to show more skin, usually unlocked after beating the game. With the passing of the 90s, the target audience was maturing, and no one needed cheats, as the developers themselves were making the characters more sexualized. In the early years of the new millennium, cleavage became one of marketing's biggest, no pun intended, assets, as it was much easier to sell a game with a heroine dressed as a porn star. I'm looking at you, Bloodrain. Sex and nudity were no longer taboo, and even in some games, for example God of War, you could even engage in an off-screen intercourse. Oh, and by the way, Kratos being an alpha male and God of War and all of that doesn't last too long in bed. It seems as if nowadays we're okay with sex and nudity as they serve the story or the world creation. Sure, strippers in Saboteur or GTA 5 aren't exactly pushing the narrative forward or serving the story in a big way, but they don't feel so out of place. No longer do games exploit nudity and sex as a selling point. I mean, not all the time. Titles like Witcher 2 or Heavy Rain managed to do those mature themes just right. Taking a shower as a troubled insomniac in Heavy Rain, or having sex with a loved one in Witcher 2. They all seemed, well, natural. Sex scenes and nudity are something we take for granted because they're nothing new to video games and, well, now they're kind of natural for us. And the funny thing is that certain games, even though they have nudity and sex scenes, are still being modded in that matter. My question is, why? With almost instant access to high-quality pornography, fictional characters with unrealistic features, and social media full of photoshopped pictures devoid of any flaws, it's almost impossible to have our standards met in real life, and those who don't find satisfaction in the real world turn to the virtual, where their idea of perfection can be found. It seems as if the media and the world around us is so oversaturated with sexualized images that we simply got used to them. Even though certain games feature sex scenes and nudity, it's not enough to meet those absurd standards. Take Witcher 3 or Dragon Age for example, where female characters got a makeover in a mod with bigger eyes, bigger lips, and perfect breasts to make a certain modder's fantasy come true. Despite female characters in those games being sexually appealing in general, small breasts or freckles were drastically removed. modern gamers are much like gods in their virtual worlds, bending the rules in their favor and changing the aesthetics of the game on a whim. There is no tolerance for even the slightest flaws, and it's easy to make your perfect beauty standard come to life. Taking power away from the audience came as a surprise to those who pick up Rust, where we had no influence over how our character looked in certain aspects, as the size of our private parts and skin color were randomized. Some gamers were furious, as for the first time in a while, they had to face imperfection. After a while though, the internet was full of videos with naked avatars running around doing random stuff. And to our surprise, the community loved Rust. I'm not saying we should take example from Rust and get naked and go back in the wilds, but if that's your thing, I'm not gonna be the judge of that. I just think that this game made us realize that deep down we're tired of those absurd beauty standards and over-sexualization of everything, and maybe, just maybe, video game developers feel the same way, considering the fact that sex scenes and romance is even more believable in games. Characters have physical flaws and sometimes they have awkward moments, just like us. So maybe, someday, I hope, thanks to video games, we'll be able to accept our own flaws and that way accept others. Thanks for watching.